Or you might remember when Marco Rubio was unloading on Donald Trump, both in last week's debate and following up the next day. This is the pre-size of his hands comments. This concerned Trump University, these sign-up courses where the senator was alleging they're shams and people are rooked for their money. There were a couple of court cases pending on this. One has just come down. Charlie Gasparino is here along with Dagen McDowell. What do you have, buddy?
Well, I got to read it. You know, I'm getting this, I got to read the whole thing. But apparently, let's be clear here. There were several counts in this case that was brought by Eric Schneiderman, the New York Attorney General, alleging that Trump University was a civil fraud, meaning that it did not live up to the promises that had alleged to bring people in that paid thousands of dollars for the courses. What they're saying is that Trump appealed. The appeal has largely been rejected by the appellate courts in New York. And not only that, from what I understand, and again, I got to read it and make sure I got everything right because this is in legalese, the court reinstated some of the counts that were thrown out. So what Donald Trump is facing, if this is accurate, what I'm saying, and like I said, I'm going to read it again, he could be deposed during the presidential campaign on this case. Because this case is going forward now.
And there are a number of other cases where they're all grouped together.
There are civil suits from people who claim that they were ripped off by him. Okay. So there's two things. I mean, we may have the spectacle, which we've had in the past with Bill Clinton being deposed on the Monica Lewinsky stuff, and Paula Jones trial, Paula Jones sexual harassment case, which led to Monica Lewinsky. I mean, it's not unprecedented, but to add a little more spice to this crazy, this is what's going to come out.
A lot of this thing, and we've gotten into this before Donald Trump, these guys, and Ted Cruz, I'm sure, is going to follow up on his stance on illegal immigration, whether he's as tough as he says he is, and his meeting with the New York Times editorial board sounding a lot softer on this issue than he does on the stump. What both of these guys, Senator Cruz, Senator Rubio, are saying, that guy speaking right now in Ohio isn't the guy you think. What do you think?
I think that it's easy for them to go after things that the unknown. With Cruz going after what did he possibly say to the New York Times, it's the unknown. It's an easy jab. It's an easy punch for them to take. It's like making fun of the guy's hand size, right?
Although there's some truth to it.
Well, if you listen to the interview that Trump did with Hannity last night, I thought that he was pretty reasonable about a lot of issues, and I don't know how.
And are any of these attacks at this point? And that's what the Trump folks like to say. You can't derail this train, baby.
Listen,
I don't know what will drive the car into the Trump car into the.
I got off the phone not too long ago with some Rubio people who told me about internal polls that they had last night that were trying to gauge voter sentiment post the KKK David Duke flap. They told me that there was a positive trend. I have to get into those numbers a little bit. I don't want to say exactly what they were because I want to know more about it. But what they told me, and what's scaring the hell out of Rubio tonight, and I'm sure Ted Cruz, is that, and you should ask him this, there was a positive trend, pro-Trump voter sentiment trend following those remarks. I'm not saying it's causality or confluence, or I mean, I don't know why that's occurring, but that's what they said, and that's a scary thing for both Ted Cruz and Marco Rubio.
But you always want an element of doubt, right? You always want to, whether it's this Trump University thing, which has been bandied about, and legal challenges across the country. You've had other people questioning whether he hires illegals. And I almost think that his opponents are throwing at him anything that they hope will stick and maybe give voters in states today pause.
But it's like it's the minutia at this point. It's a little bit here, a little bit there, and I don't know if you build a wall of uncertainty in terms of Donald Trump.
If you're sued for fraud, it's not minutia. You're sued for fraud. You created Trump University. People say they didn't get much out of it.
My point is, Charlie, like all of this, I'm not saying that it's not a valid story to be covering. It most certainly is. But with the people who are firmly in Trump's camp, it doesn't. It's like it doesn't get in his way.
Here's a little bit, guys. I saw that all this revolt from people like Club for Growth.
Right.
We don't want you backing Trump. Now Representative Steve King saying the establishment could back Hillary. I told you that. If Trump or Cruz wins the nomination, though. But more and more, now this makes 8 different core Republican groups. Ben Sass, the latest last night, of Nebraska. What do you make of that?
They're going to call for Bloomberg. The establishment will say And moderate Republicans, not just establishment, but
But
moderate
they're
Republicans,
killing themselves.
listen to their calculus, okay? And this is the sort of calculus with the contested convention that could hurt the party going forward, and the calculus of not supporting Trump and supporting a Bloomberg going forward. They believe that by electing Donald Trump, the party's future is at stake. It's better.
And they're not who they say they are.
And yeah, and you know, let's be real clear here. I like Donald personally. I like him a lot. I don't believe he's a bigot. But when someone brings up David Duke and the KKK to you, there are certain absolutes in life. Death, taxes, you know, the Holocaust was a historical wrong. The KKK is evil. You know,
Well,
David Duke's a bad guy.
Paul Ryan, Speaker of the House, said the GOP doesn't prey on people's prejudices. Clearly, he was referring to Donald Trump. But I am wondering, regardless of your respective views on these issues, do any of them change the course of this nomination?
Depends.
I don't think that they might. You know what? Maybe they don't change the course of the nomination, but they change the course of what happens in the general in November. These are scare tactics. These are, you know, these are the parents trying to scare the kid from biting their fingernails when they're little. All of these establishment candidates saying you're going to.
KKK.
No, I'm not talking.
He's agreeing with you.
Oh, okay.
I'm saying that they're scared, but they're trying to scare the voter into not voting for Donald Trump.
They're trying to say if you vote for this guy, you're crazy because here's what he stands for. I will say this.
Well,
Neil,
I mean, Brett Stevens in the Wall Street Journal today goes even further than that. A very incendiary column today from him. 35% of the population
of the Republican electorate supports him. If that number goes to 50, it won't matter how much scare tactics they have. But if it doesn't, they're going to challenge him at the convention. Guaranteed. And they have a case to challenge.
Charlie, I grew up in the South. You don't need to tell me how creepy and scary and grotesque the KKK is.
It's not just the KKK, though. It's John McCain. It's making fun of the guy that has epilepsy. It goes down the line.
I'm just saying that I've been on this since day one with the comments about women and veterans and prisoners of war
and, he goes up in the polls.
And immigrants and handicapped people.
He keeps 35%. He
49%.
No, but 49 and that.
You have got to get with the program, though. You've been dismissing him from day one. I love you dearly.
You know why?
You've been wrong.
You know why? You know why? Because I'm scared.
Will you think he gets the nomination? Yes or no?
Yes, and he will. I think that it depends. If that CNN poll is right, which is the first outlier, it's always been 35% up until then, he's going to get the nomination, and it's going to be a dark day for the Republican Party.
On the other side,
based on a lot of facts.
These scare tactics, like them or not, they're coming from people that the voters don't trust in the first place.
We shall see.
And they're going it's shoving. A lot of them don't. You say, Paul Ryan?
All right. We don't know. Therein lies the difference. We're getting a little bit more on this court case. It's deemed a loss for Donald Trump. There are two other cases, I guess, pending. We haven't gotten that yet. But bottom line, another potential black eye for Donald Trump. But again, he has survived these blows before. We shall see. A guy